Good morning and welcome to this Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce live stream breakfast for, what day are we? Tuesday the 12th of May. It seems like all our days are sort of merged together. This morning we're really fortunate to have with us June Ranson, who's the Chief Executive of Woburn International. Woburn International is a local business based in Lower Hutt, specialising in immigration and visas and relocation of people internationally and welcoming them into New Zealand and facilitating businesses to transfer staff around the world as well. June is a Chamber Bronze Partner and has been for many years and is also a long-standing board member of the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce and supports our work, I think probably nearly every day of her own business as well, referring many businesses to the Chamber and to many of our programs. So this morning, June will share with us the latest information regarding immigration bill and the new immigration bill that's going through Parliament at the moment, and issues relating to that, and migrant workers and implications of COVID on visas and immigration. So this morning, I'm delighted to see you again, June, and to welcome you this morning to our live stream.
Thank you, Helen, and it's good to be here with you all. So what I'd like to share with you, in addition to what Helen's already told you, is that I do wear different hats. And that's not going to the races. In addition to my role with the Chamber of Commerce, I am a licensed immigration advisor, the Chief Executive of Woburn. I'm also the chairman of the largest immigration industry organisation, which represents licensed immigration advisors and immigration lawyers. Now, as a result of the COVID-19, I recognise that it was important to bring together immigration groups, and there's 3 others outside of the one that I represent, and it was so important to have a united force to work with to go forward with regard to the economic recovery of New Zealand, so we have a large presence. Now, migrants are our backbone, and short-term thinking about what the country needs is going to hinder progress. So everything has changed as a result of unemployment increasing, and it's correct that New Zealand residents and citizens must come first. But we have a very delicate situation, as many migrants who bring their skills and experience to the employers' businesses will have obstacles when it comes to renewing their visas and will not get through the new stringent labour market test. Now, they will be unemployed, and at this stage, unemployed and not able to get back to their home country. Now, another issue when things start coming back to normal, the new normal, we will find enormous holes in our workforce. And that's because we got shot of the migrants that once did the work we needed undertaking. And we don't see a way around that. Now, as will have been witnessed last week, an immigration amendment bill was released introducing temporary changes to both resident and temporary visas. And that was to enable the pressure to come off of the immigration system. So this is the pause button. Now, this pressure started before COVID-19. As immigration was overwhelmed in having to manage the huge number of applications in their system for the processing. So immigration were encountering problems before the pandemic. Now, you need to be aware that whilst verbally stated by officials that the amendment bill is focusing on not disadvantaging migrants, careful wording of that bill was necessary, and that the new powers would not disadvantage migrants. Now, I can report that in principle, the new amendment bill was supported by the various industry associations and the immigration industry, subject to the new powers having sufficient safeguards that are necessary. So rather than focusing on each individual case, classes or types of applications will be treated similarly, providing a speedy solution to cover entire groups of people. Now, it's intended that the new amendments will come into force the 15th of May. And this is concerning that a vital piece of legislation can be rushed through when it will impact on the lives of so many. Now, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, many, if not most of the temporary migrant visa holders face serious difficulties. They may have lost their jobs or are working in different roles for shorter hours. Their income may have been reduced, all of which has been outside of the migrant's control and brought about to help the employer's business survive. Now, these visa holders may therefore be in breach of their visa conditions. Now, all of this impacts on the employer, approximately 200,000 work visa holders, which probably relates to something like 50,000 in New Zealand employers. Employers, you will generally have obligations in relation to the migrant workers' visa status, and you need urgent solutions to your worker status. Now, I can advise that Immigration New Zealand cannot provide the necessary solutions to the worker status. Immigration, they can't handle individual cases as the volume is too much with minimal staff working. Now, this is seen to improve slowly when we move into alert level 2, but it's not going to happen quickly. So the new challenge for the employers moving forward, if you have a migrant who had an application lodged before the pandemic, you need to be prepared for proving that you still need that individual migrant. They're not just going to let that person start work once they've got through the immigration system. So what about those migrants who hold current work visas and left New Zealand for overseas travel and were caught by the pandemic and not able to return? Many of whom have their home and their belongings in this country. Are you, the employer, prepared to wait until the border opens, perhaps some 12 months' time? And what about those people that you have recruited offshore with a current employment contract that they hold, and they hold their work visa as well, but cannot enter New Zealand? Their personal effects are being shipped into New Zealand. So do you have obligations to this migrant? Now, the government states they cannot come. So do we have a humanitarian or moral issue? Now, currently, the government states that if you are an industry that features under the essential services and the skilled person is not in New Zealand, then the position you wish to fill could get through the border. Sounds promising, but another layer of red tape has been introduced, whereby you have to apply to your industry's lead agency. Now, the requirements to get through this process have not been clearly spelt out, which delays things further. And you really shouldn't do this without help unless you have loads of patience and can handle the bureaucracy, as declines of such applications are well featured with a 1% success rate. Now, I hate to think that the government gets to focus on the now and not the future. We need a very focused program on which skilled persons will be allowed through our borders, taking a pragmatic approach and accept that employers, whilst prepared to train a new unemployed New Zealand resident or citizen, there is a need for technical people, and the government needs to work out what industries are in need of expertise to help the economy recover. Now, I'm happy to receive any questions.
Thank you, June. That's fascinating when you think about all the different scenarios people could have around migrants who are partway here and stopped, or migrants who are here and the jobs no longer exist and that sort of thing. Which sort of industries do you think that the biggest impact is going to be?
Hospitality, tourism, construction, truck drivers. And once again, as I've said, what we're actually seeing come forward is that where we were crying out for truck drivers in this country, we're finding that tour bus drivers have now lost their jobs, are now coming forward. And that's fair enough. But the whole scene is totally changing.
So, I know in our discussions in the past, you've talked about how when a business comes to New Zealand and wants to set up, they create a business plan that underpins their immigration status and their applications for residency or whatever. COVID-19 will have had a major disruption to some of those business plans. Is there work in immigration in that space?
At this current time, they're not looking at anything to do with investors, and they're not looking at anything to do with the entrepreneurs setting up business. And that's a backward step, because this country actually needs this investment of these people. The entrepreneur visa, which was to encourage these people to come through and set up, that really has been what we would term a dead dog for a long time. It's been tweaked so many times, and so many people who have had their expectations of being able to gain their residence after they've proven their worth and being able to establish a successful business and employ New Zealanders have suddenly found that they've missed out on being able to gain their residence. And that's been for numerous reasons. And it's all about meeting people's expectations, and they need help. But we most definitely need to get the investors in, even though the Prime Minister has made the point of saying we don't want these people buying passports. I'm afraid she didn't realise these people were not buying passports. They were in fact just going to be gaining their residence, and having held that residence for 5 years could then go through and apply for citizenship.
Right. And in terms of recovery, that investment into the economy here in New Zealand is going to be quite important, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's very short-sighted at this point in time, but look, we are in a pandemic. Everything is unprecedented, and I can say that they really have not known how to handle this. And this is something whereby the association that I'm a chairman of, I felt that it was time to bring together all of those other industry groups, and I said before, so that we had a louder voice. But there are many things that there's no plan for. There's nothing at all, and so everything was actually put on hold. But there's also a lot of anomalies coming through, and I mentioned before about the essential services, and one of the things we know is that health workers are on that essential services list. But it doesn't make sense. And I cite a case with Middlemore Hospital. They have identified a highly skilled person to speak, who's a senior speech therapist, but also helps people with more crucial health issues. And that person has been declined. And there's no rhyme nor reason for that. And what we're finding is that people can in fact be applying for the essential services, and basically it's put in online, and within 15, 20 minutes later, you suddenly get a decline. It's almost as if there's an automation there that we're not taking people. But we've got to identify we do need these urgent skills. I mean, it's going to result in a lot of unemployment with a lot of these people not being able to get in. I've got another case at the moment with, in New Zealand, there is only one organisation that actually produces toilet paper in this country, and it's tissue paper. And they run 2 production lines, and they need, because down, you're going to have a whole lot of people suddenly unemployed. And we're only going to encourage more imported toilet paper. So we're not supporting the New Zealand economy at all.
Absolutely. It's interesting when you highlighted hospitality and tourism. Certainly in manufacturing, there's specialist skills, and I know of many businesses in the Hutt Valley who are in the manufacturing engineering space who rely on migrant labour and are in the process of bringing, or have been in the process for the last couple of years or even longer, and still bringing in people from overseas to help fill these very specialist roles that actually are really important when you want to go and buy something. So what advice would you give them?
Well, they've got to being able to justify that. And as I said, if they've got anything underway at the moment, they do need to revisit it, because they really have got to prove that that person is still required. And then they've got to go looking for their lead agency that they are in fact responsible to. And that's where the beginning of your nightmare begins, if you haven't got frustrated beforehand, because they haven't got anything set out as to who you should be going to. They haven't got anything set out as to what you need to be providing. And so it goes on. So patience, and that's why I say it's hard work, and you shouldn't really try to do it on your own.
Yeah, right. Okay. June, if any of our viewers today want to get in contact with you, do you want to provide some contact details?
Yes, absolutely. You can reach me on my cell phone, 021 422 095, or contact our own number, and that is 04 for Wellington, the 569, the 4975, or our mainstream is 569 4861.
Great. Thanks very much for your time again, June. Thank you for your expertise and for joining us this morning, and I hope you have a good day.
Thanks very much, Helen. Bye for now.
See you.
Bye.